Yo, what's up guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. That time I got Isakied as a slime. DanmachixTTIGRS by awalker0641. Chapter 12. A lunchtime run-in. Where were you? Oh, I forgot to make an excuse. Why didn't you remind me, Raphael? Raphael. His skill seems to be ignoring him. Oh well, I'll just wing it, he thought. Oh, you know, just out and about exploring like I usually do, he says as he walks in with his sandals off. As he walks by her, he could feel Hinata's gaze penetrating his soul. He hoped she would buy it. So you went out last night, skipped breakfast, and decide to come in with the smell of alcohol? Did you get drunk last night? Oh no, she saw right through it. Who would have guessed she could have figured it out? He had to think of something quick. He began searching through the cabinets so he did not have to look at her. Otherwise she would see his guilt-stricken face. He responded, well, I did have a little drink last night and I had breakfast at a restaurant that was kind of far from here. He closes the cabinets and walks over to the fridge. A few moments passed before she responded. All right. It's not like I can control what you do. She mumbled the last part to herself. Rimuru turns around to look at her now that she let it go and smiles. So what do you want to eat? Let's go out. I haven't gotten out of the house very often lately and... Rimuru started to zone and turned around to look in the fridge to hide his nervousness when she said, let's go out. If she saw what he did in town, then he would not be able to leave the house. He just knew it. He'd be imprisoned, shackled to the place. And if Shuna learned, then hello Shien's cooking. He had to stop her and convince her to stay in. I don't know, Hinata. I mean, we could save money if stayed in, and I could make something better than they can, and I've been out all day. He turns around only to see her putting on her boots. She looks up at him and shrugs. Then you can stay and eat. I'm going out. All he could do was curse himself for not being able to make her stay. All right, he thought, guess I'll have to distract her. He sighed and closed the fridge. All right, just wait a minute, I'll change. He jumped to his slime form and back to his human form, wearing a change of clothes. He wore a blue shirt with brown pants and some tennis shoes. Hinata just watched him with her eyes on him. Is that how you change? He just nodded. Yep. Hinata just let out a frustrated huff. They leave the house and head down the street. As they were walking, Rimuru realized that they were headed near a spot he may have vandalized, so he had to improvise. Hey, I know a shortcut, he said, and grabbed her hand, leading her down an alleyway away from the spot. If he would have looked back, he would have seen a faint blush on her cheeks. Leading Hinata down the path, he took a couple of turns before he reached the end. There they could see the hustle of people's daily lives, merchants selling their wares, and the average pickpocket happening. He had to admit that he missed his home and friends when seeing the liveliness of the city. Although he could do without the pickpocket. As they exit, a person bumps into Rimuru and the offender falls down. Naturally, Rimuru lets go of Hinata's hand to help the person up. Whoops, sorry about that. Let me help you up. As he helps, he sees that it's the kid from the other day. However, when the kid was on his feet with a blush as he started to apologize profusely. I'm sorry G goddess. IW was not L looking where I was going A, and I was on my H home because I G going to see my goddess and... However, before he could continue, Rimuru put his hand up and sighed. Goddess? Me? What? Belle thinks I'm a goddess? Rimuru's eyebrow twitched before he sighed and cleared up the misunderstanding. It's okay, Belle. You don't need to apologize. Besides, it's me, Rimuru. Belle looked up and stared for almost 30 seconds with a heavy blush. Then it clicked and he went pale. I'm sorry for mistaking you, Mr. Tempest. I did not recognize you without your mask. He bows. He looks off to the side to see Hinata. It's fine. It's actually the first time I took it off in a while. I guess getting drunk helped rein in my aura. And this is Hinata, my friend. She nods to Belle and he bows back with a slight blush. Anyhow, what are you doing today? Did you find a familia yet? Then a sly smile grew on his face. Or are you perhaps prowling around for some young maidens to take home? Belle went red in the face and started to stutter incoherently. Rimuru laughed at his loss of composure. Ha ha ha. I'm just messing with you. However, did you find a familia? When asked, Belle straightened up and a smile erupted on his face. Yes, I did. I am the only person in my familia along with my goddess, but I still joined one. A gentle smile graced Rimuru's face at seeing his excitement. And I still need to thank you gifting me some Valis. It really helped me be able to get my equipment since there is not much money between the two of us. I hope there is some way I can make it up to you. Also, I'm on my way back from the dungeon to tell my goddess about the goblin I killed. While that was not much of an accomplishment in his mind, Rimuru just stood there, smiled, and looked at the kid, and a thought came to him. Can I ask you something? Sure. Has anyone trained you in combat? He looked down, a bit discouraged, and rubs the back of his head. Well, no. Since it's just me and my goddess, there is no one to train me. And my grandpa was not able to teach me anything either. Rimuru walked up to the kid with a devilish smile and a tint of excitement in his eye and put his hand on Belle's shoulder. Well, a way for you to pay me back is to allow me to teach you how to fight. Belle looked lost and Hinata had to do a double take at Rimuru's proposition. But I would not be paying you back. I'd only be taking up your time and I'd be even more in your debt. Rimuru just smiled and waved his hand dismissively. Please. You would be paying me back by entertaining me. And I have plenty of time on my hands to teach you for an hour or so. Besides, you need the help. Belle stood there in thought, then smiled. Well, if you are wanting to teach me as a way for me to pay you back, then I gladly accept. Belle smiled and bowed. Rimuru put his hand in his pocket and pulled out a map of the northern part of the city. All right. Then meet me here tomorrow. What time do you want to start though? I pretty much am able to start training you whenever, considering I don't sleep. I'll have to see if they have pills here or something. Well, how about 5 in the morning, because I can go to the dungeon right afterwards. All right, that works for me. He puts the map away. Well, I'll let you go. I'll see you tomorrow. Yes, I'll see you tomorrow. Belle smiles, waves and runs off to his home. Rimuru turns down the street and starts to walk. He looks over his back to see Hinata following in thought. They walk for a little longer with people staring and moving out of their way until they find a place to eat. As they enter the restaurant, it became oddly quiet. They're quickly seated and order their food. Then Hinata speaks up. Who was that exactly? Oh, Belle. Well, he was that kid I was telling you about. The one who could be a hero if he was in our world. She nodded at him while he was looking out the window. So you're going to train someone while we are trying to keep a low profile? He knew that it was not that great of an idea, but well, the kid would only keep wanting to repay him. Besides, I don't want to read all day. He faces her. Even if I do train him, he won't get much recognition till after we leave. Apparently the fastest level up was a year by some sword princess. We'll be gone by then. I mean, look at the kid, he isn't the most physically strong. It would take a Herculean effort, divine intervention, or some impossible skill to get him to beat that level up. And the gods aren't allowed to use their power. That's true. But whenever you get involved in something, there is bound to be some type of craziness that will come after. He just smiled. While that is true, that does happen, but we're in a different world. I believe that nothing crazy should happen here if I get involved in something. He shrugged, looked back out the window. Heck, I'll eat a hat if I'm wrong. After a little waiting, they get their meal. Then Hinata asks, so where are you even going to train him at? I hope it's not in the yard. He shakes his head. No, I won't train him at the house. I found an abandoned warehouse that seems to be perfect to train him at. I'll buy it, refurnish it, and add in the training stuff for him to use. She stops mid-bite at his explanation. She looks at him like he's crazy. She puts down her food. So you're going to buy the place and rebuild it? He nods in response. And train him there? He nods again. Tomorrow? Yay. That's the plan. Why? She looks at him square in the face. How are you even going to do that? I know that you guys built a coliseum in a couple of months, but you just can't retrofit an entire rundown warehouse into a training ground in one night by yourself. Rimuru finishes a bite before responding. Sure I can. All I have to do is buy the wood, check the walls and roof for repairs. I might have to reshingle it, do some residing, maybe paint it, get new windows, fix the electricity and plumbing, varnish the floor, replace the doors, do some insulation and some other things. It won't take long. Then he went back to eating. Hinata just sat there looking at him. She had to process on how much time it would take, the amount of money, resources, and effort. No matter what she thought, it always took longer than a couple of weeks. Of course, that is by human standards. Since monsters were stronger than humans, it would take less time. Of course, this is Rimuru we're talking about. After that thought, she went back to eating. When they finished up, Rimuru paid and they started to walk back to the house. They stop at the market to pick up some food and do some shopping. He kept her distracted whenever he neared some graffiti from his and Loki's night in the town. Weirdly though, people kept looking at them and he got some discounts. As they kept going till they neared the guild. "Oh Hinata, let me go by that place really quick." She raised an eyebrow and lowered it and sighed. "Alright, I'll wait over there on that bench for you." With that he walked into the guild and it became quiet. He looked at the counters to see the one had the shortest line. He could see lots of people looking at him, but he paid no mind. He walked up to a half-elf for to purchase the deed. When it was his turn, the woman looked at him like she was mesmerized. Like there was something she has never seen before and it was causing her to short-circuit. "Excuse me, miss." A couple of seconds pass. "Excuse me, miss." A couple more seconds. He raised his eyebrow at her. "Miss." A couple of more seconds pass and his eyebrow twitched. He waved his hand in front of her face and she broke out in a blush. "Oh, forgive me, goddess. I did not mean to be rude." She bowed in apology. "How may I help you?" Why am I being referred to as a goddess? And why does she look familiar? Less than notice. Master is very beautiful. And she is Aina, your guild advisor, greater than. Thanks, Refill. And my guild advisor? Do I even need one? Aina. It's me, Rimuru. You're my advisor? When he said that, Aina was extremely embarrassed and was a couple of shades redder in the face. "Oh, I'm sorry. It's just I haven't seen you in a week and without your mask." She bows again. He waves dismissively. "It's fine. Anyhow, I want to buy." He pull out a map, "This warehouse. How do I do that?" She looks lost in thought as she taps her chin. She seems to come up with an idea, then flips through a sheet. There it is. "Okay, can you go into that room while I get the paperwork?" He nods and walks to the room. He waits in there for a couple of minutes till she comes in with a stack of papers and sets them down. "Okay, I'll need you to fill this out, and do you have a down payment ready? The place costs 5 million valis. So your down payment should be 500,000 valis." Rimuru nearly blanched. "What? 5 million for that broken down warehouse?" His hockey started to slip out, making Aina get nervous. But he recomposed himself. Sigh. "Why is it so much? That place seems to have been unoccupied and unused for years. It's in such bad shape too. Heck, it looked like someone bombed it." "Well, it would have costed more, but since it was bombed in the dark age of Orario, it is a lot cheaper. I'm not able to bring down the price any more than it is though. Are you able to afford it?" "Yay. I'll give you the money later since I don't have it on me." "Okay. Then all I need you to do is fill out this paperwork and get me the payment and you'll be good to go." She gets up and walks out. Rimuru just sighs to himself, looking at his mortal enemy. With the help of Raphael, he fills out the paperwork in 10 minutes. He exits the room with the papers in hand. He walks up to the counter to Aina. "Here you go." "You're done?" She looks at him flabbergasted. "But it's been only 10 minutes?" He just looks at her. "Yeah, 10 minutes of paperwork. Felt like a couple of hours to me." "Well, usually it takes an hour to do it. Let me see if it's all in order." She looks through the stack of papers before looking back at him surprised. "Well, it looks all in order. Just get me the payment and you will own the property." He thanks her and leaves the guild. As he walks toward Hinata sitting on the bench cross-legged waiting for him. He smiles and waves at her. Then he looks over to see a pile of people stacked on top of each other groaning in pain. His smile fades a bit. "So, what have you been up to?" He looks at her with inquisitive gaze. "Waiting for you. Some people thought that she looks over with a glare at the pile of men, would like to spend time with them. So I told them no." "Okay. Let's go then." They walked off from onlookers and from a couple of men huffing in delight. They picked up their pace till they got home. When they arrived, they went in the house, took their shoes off, and Rimuru started to put things away while Hinata went to change. After putting the food away, he turned around to see Hinata looking at him with her arms crossed over her bosom and a serious gaze. "So, you want to tell me why you name and slime form were on the side of a wall in town?" Oh man. He knew that he was in trouble. A child's excitement. "It was midday when I ran back to the church where Goddess and I lived. I could not believe it. I killed a goblin. The creature that I died for I killed. I was really happy. Also, I was going to be trained by Mr. Tempest. I did not know what I was in for, but I knew that being trained will help me reach my goal of becoming a hero and getting a harem. I was surprised to find out how beautiful he looked even though he's a guy. I open the door and run to the hidden entrance. I open it and run downstairs. Goddess, I'm home. Oh Belle. You're back early. Did something happen? I killed a goblin. I smile with pride. It was a huge accomplishment for me. Okay. I looked at her. It seemed that she thought I was going to say more. You killed a goblin? I realized how embarrassing that is now that I said it out loud. I couldn't help myself though. It was a creature that almost killed me once. I rubbed the back of my head. Yeah. I guess it's not much, but it was a creature that almost killed me once. She sighed and nodded. All right. I guess that is something important to you. She turned around to head to the kitchen, but then I had remembered about training. I went and sat on the couch to take off my boots. Oh yeah. Also, I was offered to be trained tomorrow and I accepted. As those words left my mouth, I realized I should have consulted her first. But before I could apologize, she was right in front of me, looking me square in the face. I could see how serious she was. Belle. I swallowed. Who was it that offered? What familia were they from, and why did you not consult me first? I got up and bowed deeply to Goddess as she stared at me. I'm sorry, Goddess, but I was so excited from killing the goblin that I guess I got ahead of myself. I straightened up and looked at her. But his name is Rimuru Tempest, and he said that he is not in a familia. I looked at Goddess while she was in thought and tapped her chin. Then she snapped her fingers. Oh, him. He is the guy who gave you that money, right? I sold him some Jaramaru-kun today. He seemed like a nice fellow, but... She turns around and sits on the bed in thought. There is something off about him. I'm not sure what it is though. But my intuition tells me there is a reason he's not in a familia. I think he wasn't lying, but it is hard to tell if he was telling the truth. It's almost like Isakied. She sighs and looks at me. What do you think, Belle? I think it over a little bit in my head about him. Well, he seems like a good person and he always in a good mood when I saw and met him. He also gave me that valise to help me. I also want to pay him back. Then I speak up. I think it would not only help me to survive the dungeon. He says it's a way to pay him back, but I think he just wants to help me. I really want to do this, Goddess. She sighs and waves her hand. All right, Belle. You can be trained by him. Then she gets serious and points at me, but be careful about him. He strikes me as a person with a lot of secrets. Thank you, Goddess. I bow and smile. I'm so excited to be taught how to fight.